So excited. We are live on Facebook. I am Beth Copeland, Georgia Christian Business Network, and our vision to put God back in business. And today we have March Tuesday Power Call. I am excited for our guest. I am so excited to introduce you to her because this is the season that we have to watch our intake, look at our food, but not just that, look at our whole person. It's so important that we understand that in order to do better business, it's important that we live better lives. And I'm telling you, God wants us to look at our lives from totality and whole person. And so today's guest is Maggie Williams, and I'm going to say affectionately, Coach. And I to present you, Coach Maggie, to the GCBN platform, virtual platform, to introduce you to our members and our community, to share the awesome nuggets that God has given to you for us for the past, been promoting you, talking about who you do and why others should care. Now is your time right now to introduce yourself from your heart, to tell us who you are. All of those questions that I've been saying, I'm ready for you to validate that because they're going to have a wonderful experience today. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I am a retired educator. I worked in the schools for over 20 years. And I am married. I've been married to my husband for 42 years. I have 4 amazing grown kids and 8 even more amazing grandkids. And so I just have a passion for really helping people live not their best life, but God's best life for them. And there is a distinction. So often we say, I want to be my best self. But if it's me doing it, then I've got to maintain it. But if it's God working through me, then he's equipping me. So it's God's best.
I don't think I heard it put it that. Thank you for articulating that because I want to live life now. I do. But what you're saying is God's best life for me, which is so importantly to note here. Because if, as you said, what she said, if I'm doing it, it's too many opportunities and advantages to not succeed in it. And one of the things that I've learned, and I want you to jump in here but I have to say this, is I've found that and I'm doing it for Beth, I'll let Beth know. But when I'm doing it for God, it's difficult for me to fail, you know? Yeah. But I don't know which direction you're going with outstanding that you're sharing with us today, but I can't wait because we need to level up in our lives.
Right.
So please help us.
Okay, I'll do my best. Well, first of all, I just want to give 3 basic nuggets. And most, at least for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, we love these DIY shows. We love the different things on HGTV where they're taking an old dilapidated house and they're fixing it up. And maybe someone buys it, a homeowner is thinking about buying it, but they can't really see, they don't have a vision for what it's going to look like. On the other hand, you have the designer, you have the architect, you have the builder, and they can see, they're saying, yes, we can do this. Now, a lot of times the homeowner can't, but along the way, the home ends up being their dream home. And again, we are failed people, and God is wanting to take us with all of our, failings, all of our difficulties, all of our challenges, and remake us so that we come out the creation that he designed. So I'm going to be looking at 3 areas today. First is we've got to remove a lot of the things that really are holding us back, okay? And again, I'll get into the Bible and pull that in and it'll be more clear. But for example, if you were on a construction site where they were working on a house, they would feel the need to take things down, clean up, and then the crew comes in and levels up the foundation and then builds up. So those three things are, we need to remove the things that are keeping us from being our absolute best. And then we need to lay a solid foundation, and then we need to build up. And so think of, as I go through this, think of yourself almost like your dream home, a building. So when I talk about removing the old things, so many of us have limiting beliefs. We have things from our past, we have failings, we have challenges, and too often we're holding on to those things. I have been the last 3 months in the book of Nehemiah, and it's a beautiful story of God putting on Nehemiah's heart to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the wall. Now, in ancient times, they would have walls around cities for protection. But when Israel was taken captive, the Babylonians went in and totally annihilated the city, destroyed the temple. They made a mess of the city and, of course, destroyed the wall. So Nehemiah gets it in his heart to build it up. But one of the things he had to do before he could start building is remove the rubble around the city. So imagine the boulders. They didn't have earth-moving equipment. They didn't have those types of things. So we're talking about giant boulders and rocks and stones. He couldn't build the wall with those things still there. And too many of us are holding on to boulders. Almost imagine a backpack. I was, like I said, just in North Carolina, and we flew. And you see people with these big, ginormous backpacks with all kinds of stuff. But imagine if we had a backpack that we filled with past failings, the hurts that people have done to us, not to mention just the things in the world. It's full. And we can't do anything productive until we get rid of that.
I love what you're saying. This is so outstanding already, and we're like 5 minutes in. I often say God has a plan, and we are part of that plan. And positioning you here was God's plan, because here we are at the end of 2021, and so much anxiety. People are anxious about what's next for 2022, and also challenges related to, I haven't done everything that I purposed to do for 2021. And for you to say this right here, right now, of removing the rubble and everything interfered with the project going forward, with the vision of Nehemiah, of rebuilding the wall. This is really going to be essential for this transition to happen in our lives. And so I'm excited also because God has been dealing with Nehemiah. And so I can't wait to see the rest of this unfold.
Yes.
This is great.
Well, and some of the things, there are things that we've done ourselves. And one of the hardest things is people forgiving themselves. We tend to hold on. We can forgive someone else maybe, but when we've made poor decisions, we've hurt people, sometimes it's hard to forgive ourselves. Then there have been situations where we have been hurt. We were innocent, but then we want to hold on to the anger for that person. And then there are things like this pandemic that happened to us that we had no control over. And in either case, any of those, we have to give those to the Lord. And I'm very visual, and I imagine God coming up alongside and he's saying, let me carry that load for you. Give me what's in there, lighten the load so that you can move forward. If you talk to most people who've been carrying these things for years, they will say these things have kept them from really reaching their potential. So isn't it time we say, all right, Lord, I know you're not saying it was okay what they did, but we can't change what other people did to us. We can't change those things, but God can fix it and redeem it.
Maggie, let me interject here. I'm so in alignment with what you're saying, but I do have a question for you to expound on for the audience. But prior to that, I'd like to say one of the most difficult things that I think people and even Christians fall short here is in forgiveness and forgiving others of the wrongs against them. And one of the things that was so humbling for me is Romans 5:8, while we were yet sinners,
Right.
Christ died for us. And when you come into the realization that people are human and like us, if we continue to try to model the walk that Jesus had, because that's what it's all about. That's when we're going to get our greatest wins in life. It's when we're recognizing his presence, but also walking in the image, because he said, as he is, so are we where? In this world. And so I want to have you respond as a part of your presentation at somewhere you decide and determine that is in the process of forgiving, understanding that it's not saying that the act against you was justified and that it won't be, you won't be justified or in the situation or in the matter, you know, that you, you may see yourself as a victim, and what God is hoping you see yourself as a victor, and that the vengeance doesn't come the way that we probably thought that it should or when it should. You know, if you just expound some kind of way on that, that would be really good.
Right. And you're absolutely right. I think that is the biggest thing for people. When they have been hurt, they're thinking, well, if I forgive them, it's almost like that was no big deal. And it was huge. But we can't make someone repent. We can't necessarily fix that. In many cases, the person that hurt us may not even be alive. So we can't do that. However, like I said, if we can imagine Jesus walking alongside us, that we can take that hurt, that boulder, because the problem is the boulder gets heavier as we progress. So maybe it happened when we were a child or a teenager or a young adult. Maybe someone betrayed us. We have to take that and release it. And that frees us. Again, Jesus is going to take care of it. We're just saying, I can't handle this. Can you take care of it? And then we give it to him. And then he's able to take care of it. And like you said about the vengeance is not up to us. He's going to take care of that. And it's so freeing when people, the other thing is we can't rely on feeling. For many, depending on the hurt, they're going to have to daily, moment by moment, release it. The feelings may come later, but feelings, I like what Amy said, feelings are shady. And that is so true. They're so up and down. We just have to keep handing it over. And there may be days that you feel like you've handed it over 5 or 6 times. But along the way, you will be released. And that's what we have to believe.
You know, I also like what Lori shared on Zoom, and I want to take a moment to pause to thank those that have joined us on Zoom. And there are also others out there on Facebook Live as well that are participated. And Lori made a comment, forgiveness is the way. Thanks, Maggie. It is most definitely the way. And Maggie's already taught us today and affirmed for a lot of us that forgiveness is freeing. And in addition to Lori being here on Zoom, I'd like to thank Tasha Glover. I heard the great opportunity to meet her and a lovely daughter in Dallas at the NAC Week conference. Yeah, a beautiful presentation. That little girl just made such an impact on my life, and she taught me how to pose. Okay, so I've got that down now. Okay, while her mom, she was such a great assistant. It took me back some years with my daughter Jessica. And Amy's here, Amy Ray's here, and Lori, thank you. Over on the Facebook side of the house today, who is in the house? I see Chrissy. Okay, we have to pause, right? right? We have to pause when I say Chrissy's name because it's because of Chrissy McKee that Maggie and I are even connected. So I want to say a shout out to you. So Janet Nava's there. Thank you so much for joining us. And Bernice Lohman, I love you, girl. Others I can't see, if you would please let us know that you're out there. I would love to send a shout out to you. I want to make a couple of comments from some notes here. Chrissy is saying, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Yes, that verse has been on my mind lately. And she said, recognize his presence while in his image. Love that, Beth. Love you all is from Chrissy. I want you to continue, please, Maggie, because this is, and please at any point, if I'm stirring you away from where God is telling you to take us, please back it up. You know, I know how to do that because this is just something that is so big for me over the holidays because I see so much in families. There's some pretentiousness going on. You know, you just keep driving a little bit here because I believe God's up to something today.
Okay. One thing I want to say really quick too, along these lines is, again, this is, if you can't get beyond this point, it makes everything else harder. And this is often a point where we need to reach out. So for the person that says, I'm trying to give that over, that hurt, it may be time that you talk to a professional, see a therapist, see a counselor. And I think we're in a DIY. I can DIY my way out of anything. But sometimes we do need to reach out and get professional help, whether it's finances. Maybe that person is really struggling and that's holding them back. Get in touch with somebody, get on a budget, do those things that, you know, I offer health services. Sometimes it's way beyond me. Talk to a doctor, but we need to often reach out. Okay, so the next level.
You know, I've got to send a shout out on that one. I cannot let that pass because Wellness Wednesday platform, we have licensed professionals. Rich Oswald is a licensed professional counselor, and then Pamela Bridgman Bartell, who is an LCSW, licensed clinical social worker. And it is so important for us to recognize that it's okay to get help. And I think that's difficult too as a Christian. And I'm not picking on my sisters and my brothers, but sometimes we have a tendency to believe that, and the word is truth and it is good for every aspect of our lives, but unpacking the how-to can be a challenge sometimes. And it's okay to get support. Is what I hear you saying. It's okay. Get a coach, yes, and tap into what they are able to share. But even Maggie is saying sometimes it's beyond her. Go for a doctor, or what I'm saying, go to that counselor and let them help you sort it out. And it's okay.
Exactly. Just being able to talk, because sometimes when you have a problem, just being able to talk it, you hear it differently. And of course, they can see it with different eyes, just like the person that is looking at this house and it's dilapidated and they're like, I don't see it. But yet the builder and the designer, they can see it. They're imagining the walls and all these things, and they see the potential. All right, so the next level is we have removed the rubble. We've gotten rid of that stuff that's weighing us down. Now we need to have a level foundation. And of course, that needs to be Christ. That foundation has to be. Several years ago, my husband and I were doing some work on our house, and we were removing linoleum and putting tile down. And we didn't realize it until we pulled everything away that our floor was not level. And there were two places where the floorboards came and they were just slightly, maybe one was a quarter of an inch higher. And thankfully, our neighbor who helped us tile, he said, we're going to have to level that up. And so he went under the house and literally had to put some support. And again, sometimes we need the support of other people. So it looked like everything was good, but yet it was only because he had the instruments to see, no, it's slightly off. And if we lay those tiles over time, where there's that seam, they're going to start to crack. And again, we've got to have that solid foundation. We're all familiar with the parable in Matthew of the wise man building his house on the rocks, on the solid rock. And then, of course, there is the foolish man who builds it on the sand. And of course, it makes a nice children's story, but it is so true. And haven't we seen, we've seen it forever, but especially we've seen it, those houses start to crumble as we've gone through this pandemic. And people got, the storm came and it started, the wind hitting it, and you saw families crumbling. We saw marriages dissolve. We saw business fail because, again, there were those storms that came. And the beautiful thing in that story is that the storm hits both the wise and the foolish man. It's not just the foolish man. So God is saying, we're going to get the storms too, but we need to be prepared.
And you're just so on it. I'm falling deeper in love with you, girl. You're so on it today because God wants us to grow. For GCBN, our theme this year has been all about #comeback. And God has proven himself strong in the comeback. But next year, our focus for 2022 is about elevation. And so it's all about taking what God has given us and taking it to the next level. Some people are content, but I call it complacency sometimes because we say, well, I'm just content. No, you're complacent. Why? Because God said we would go to glory, from glory to glory. And guess what? Wonder why he gives us new mercies every day. Wonder why. Okay, because he wants us to grow. And if you've got everything you need, I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about, this is why I love what Maggie's getting to here, is the whole body, the total person is what needs to grow. And if you're still stuck in unforgiveness for something that someone did to you, the Hatfield and McCoys, there are people, honestly, that are at odds with me, Maggie, that I don't have a clue what I did to them. I have tried everything. I've mapped through 18, everything. But what I believe God wants us to be, and these are people that are supposed to be in lifetime relationships. But God said, and I'm going to talk about this on our first Tuesday of 2022, God willing, is elevation, soaring through negative elevation. And the opportunity that I'm hearing, you just all in my Kool-Aid this morning and just stirring it whichever way you want to. But I'm getting great nuggets from this and confirmations and affirmations about who would have thought she was going here. You're talking health and wellness, you're talking abundant life. But what I really want to say to you is where you're steering us is big girl stuff and big guy stuff. This is time for us to experience greater wins in life and business, but it's going to require us taking away and releasing those things that are holding us hostage, that are preventing. If we just peek over there, if we just get beyond it, we'd see an opportunity opening up.
Absolutely. And I believe that's the work of the enemy to get us so focused on the negative, focused on the hurts, focused on these things, because then it paralyzes us from moving forward. And so get to our third point. So we've got to clear away all the clutter. And then we have to make sure that foundation is solid. Okay. And then we need to build up. We need to build up, and we need to make sure that we're building on the right things. And this is where we also get into trouble. And like you said, it's not just the physical, it's the emotional, it's the mental, it's all of those things. And so in my book, God's Design for Your Health and Wellness, there are 12 chapters. And I like to think of those chapters as pillars or timbers. They are going up and they're going to support the house. We've all seen a home, maybe it's new construction, maybe it's remodel, but they, take it back. The walls are bad, so they take it back to the bare bones and then they work from there. So I want to read some are actually all of those pillars. And each one is so critical. First one is God has to be first, and it is the most. Think of it more as maybe it's the center of the house. It's got to be there. We've got to make sure. Too often, we've got a foundation, but it's not based on Him. And I think that's why a lot of things don't work. You know, we've all tried things and they didn't work, but we were building them on the wrong things. Okay, so I'm going to go through these quick. So God is first. And then we have to realize our identity. We are God's masterpiece. But again, if we're still holding on to that baggage, we're no masterpiece. We've, again, got to let go, and then we can really shine. The next one is how we're taking care of our body. Our bodies are temples. And I'm not talking about perfection. Sometimes people see me here locally and it's almost like, oh my goodness, I've got to hide this, and they think I eat perfect. I do not, but I'm always working on trying to think, is this something I should have? And let's face it, the holidays are very, very hard. But again, the more we recognize this is my temple and I want to take care of it. I like to think of it like our finances. If I'm making daily deposits, it's okay at the end of the month, I write a check and I go out to eat or whatever, because I've got that nice cushion. But when we're withdrawing every day, we know what happens if you withdraw money every day. It's going to bounce and you're going to be in all kinds of financial trouble. And really the same principles carry over in what we eat. Let's make good choices most of the time so that then we can still have that thing and be sensible.
You know, because as God said in moderation, let your moderation be known among men. And I love the way you do that. And that's the coaching you coming out right there and I love the analogy to writing checks and withdrawing too much and over time, because God is a God of decency and order. And I love what you're saying. And I have to make a comment about the foundation. What are you building? And this is to those that are here on Zoom. Thank you, guys. I got some good chat opportunities going here. And for those on Facebook Live, what are the opportunities? What is your foundation built on? I know Jeremiah 12 speaks to, if you faint in the day of adversity, no, that's 24:10 Proverbs, I think. But Jeremiah 12 said, if you run with horses and you fainted, then how, I mean, if you run with footmen and you fainted, how are you going to do with horsemen? And footmen, 2 legs, what you're asking for in the way of elevation, a horse has 4. And when you do the work, if you can't hang with the 2-legged, how in the world are you going to run with the 4? You know, it's not going to happen. So that foundation has to be strengthened strong. And since I mentioned Proverbs, if you faint in the day of adversity, then your strength is small. And so it's time to gird up our loins with strength. And I'm talking to Beth Copeland. Do I do this every day? There are opportunities where the enemy will pounce on you. And like my devotion, I'm at my mother-in-law's for checking in on her. And really, it's just a great opportunity. So I think I left my devotional in the bedroom back there where I'm staying, or maybe I don't, maybe I have it here. But Oswald Chambers talked about it today. Earlier this morning, I had an opportunity to read that. Is the thing that we want to know is not so much how we're doing before men, but how we're doing before God. And when we look at it from that standpoint, am I pleasing to Him? Because what He's going to do is that foundation is going to strengthen me. And when those blows start to come from the left and the right, and they will, I almost posted it on my Facebook page, but I didn't have time. I had to come do some other things to get ready for today. But one thing that I want to read is just this quick thing, Maggie. Okay. He says, my questions come whenever I cease to obey. When I have obeyed God, the problems never come between me and God. They come as probes to keep the mind going on with amazement at the revelation of God. Any problem that comes between God and myself springs out of disobedience. any problem, hear me, any problem, and there are many, that is alongside me while I obey God, increases my ecstatic delight, because I know that my Father knows, and I am going to watch and see how he unravels this thing. That's all Oswald Chambers, my utmost for his highest, for December the 14th.
Right.
It's just what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to strengthen our core, if you will. As they're telling me at the gym, my core needs strengthened, and you know about that stuff.
Right.
Okay. We've got to strengthen that and not be amazed when challenges come, because they will. And he says, there are many.
Right.
And I love what Tasha's saying, preach, Beth, build with stones, not man-made bricks. Come on, girl. Oh, girl. Oh, my God. And she said, that's one of my favorite devotionals, the old English, not the updated one. Yeah, that's what I'm reading. I'm sorry. And I'm King James version, too. Okay. She also said earlier, Maggie, Tasha said, Maggie be dropping those nuggets. And I mean, you do. Okay. I don't know what the ain't none of your business was about either. But it was funny, and Amy agreed. So, I mean, there's so many great opportunities here. Maggie, thank you. This is so refreshing for me. I don't know if y'all are getting yours, but I'm getting mine.
Okay, well, let's keep going with those pillars again, these vertical pillars.
Uh-huh.
The next one is making sure we're setting a tone for a godly home. And I know that's not always easy, because not everyone maybe thinks like you in the home, but having that place in the home where you are setting the example. Okay. The next one is building strong relationships, and we need those strong relationships. Okay. One of the pillars is time management and home organization. I've heard people say, we don't have time management. We need to learn how to manage time. And so, again, something that we can say, how is that related to anything? But don't we often say, oh, well, I don't have time to, work out, or I don't have time to go for walks. I don't have time to stay connected to family. I don't have time to, but we have time to, be on our phone. We have time for the things that we want to do. And we all have the same amount of time. And even just this morning, I was sort of checked a little bit. I was always getting up early and, getting things in. And lately I've just been lazy, I'll be honest. And my husband was getting up because he's Mr., do it right. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and get up. And it was so wonderful. I didn't like it at first, but that's the way it is with a lot of things. Sleep in my eyes, I'm tired. I really want to crawl back in bed. But I said, no, I've got this coming today with Beth. I've got things to do. And an hour in, I was like, thank you, Lord, that I did. So often we want the shortcuts. We want it easy. We want it comfortable. And we have so much of the world saying, oh, you don't have to change your lifestyle. Just take these pills. Just do this. Just invest here. You don't have to do anything. It's work. It really is. But it's so valuable and so worth it. I'll speed through the rest.
No, I've got to stop you and don't speed through it, because you've got a good 15, 20 minutes here. We're going to take it to the hill. Okay. Because I'm hearing some great feedback, that this is good. And I peeked over in Facebook, Lisa's taking your notes and one by one putting those pillars out there. I want to challenge Lisa. Lisa Muth is my executive assistant. I don't know what her title is, but is worthy. She's worthy of it. And she supports us over on the Facebook side of the house. But I want to be giving away some books. So Lisa, be thinking about how we position that, because we've got to sell some books. We're going to give away 2 copies today. And I want to apologize that I grabbed yours doing my 18th event that was for our sponsors and community partners. I think I vaguely remember it coming in, but I'm not going to be transparent. I haven't cleaned my office from that. And so I'm out of town, and all I could think all week is, did I get the book? And I didn't even think to just now to go on Amazon to see if I did in fact order it, but if not, I will definitely get it. So that's not included in the 2 that we're going to give away today. But you're talking about relationships as a pillar. Now, one of the things that I'm sure you probably highlight in that book is you have to protect your space, because I'm a keen believer is assimilation. You have to be careful about who you assimilate with, because it brings about the same type, I forget how I usually put it. It brings about the same type of attitude towards another. Okay. So those that you want to make sure that you're careful about who you allow in your space, to make sure that they are the same mindset.
Right.
Okay.
No, I agree, because we do. And especially today, we invite people in. And I remember a pastor years and years ago, I was just newly married, and he said, people will watch things on TV, but you would never in your wildest dream allow those same people to come into your home. But we'll watch them, either their language or the things they're doing. You wouldn't go to their house and watch them do the things they're doing on TV. So why do we invite those things into our home and into our head? And on social media, we often are following people and we say things like, well, I'm an adult, I can handle it. I know it's not real. You know, it's real because it's going up here. And that memory, go ahead.
Association brings about assimilation. That's what I say. That's my saying. Association brings about assimilation, and allowing people in your space. And you even made me think of in the head space too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And well, I'll finish the pillars and then I'll go back. So I talk about strong relationships, but there's also going to be those difficult relationships. So there's a whole chapter on handling them. All right. Handling stress. Stress is one of the biggest killers out there. And we don't think about it a lot. And sometimes we just tend to think, oh, I can handle this. Well, over time, that's weighing. Again, think of a house. It's just weighing down on the roof line. The next one is, again, a lot of these are very practical. Getting your sleep. We don't sleep enough. And as Americans, we actually pat ourselves on the back. At work, we'll brag about only getting 4 hours of sleep. Oh, I only got 2. You got 2. That's more than me. We brag about it, but the body goes through a whole rejuvenation period while we sleep. That's when the body heals. That's when it repairs. And so we have to make sure we're taking care of our body in that way. The 10th chapter was one of my favorites doing, and it's about taking those passions and things that God's put in your life and turning it into a career. We have something to say, and not necessarily are we going to be a Fortune 500 company at all. That's not the point. We can influence people. And so living our dream, again, you go in on Monday morning to so many businesses and everybody's dragging and they hate to be there. And it's like, we should be living our dream, not just surviving. This isn't the show Survivor. This is about living our dreams. And then 2 more, becoming a person of excellence. And I think this is so critical too. Sometimes Christians will say, well, I got fired because they know I'm a Christian. Well, is it possible that you were coming in late every day? You were on your phone a lot. You weren't turning work in. We need to be making sure that we are people of excellence in everything we do. Not that we're little goody goodies, but that we're giving our best when we're there. So if I work 8 hours, you got my 8 hours.
You are so outstanding. We should have done part 1 and part 2. So that means you're going to have to come back again. We still have time to flush out some more, but I keep interrupting you. I want you to just lay those pillars out there, but I just have to let you know, you are so resonating with my spirit. And it's time as Christians that we grow up. And I know that I think Chrissy said something over on Facebook that it's time. us to get the victory, not for ourselves, but for God. It's been turned around. Did you get fired truly because you're a Christian? Because see, what I believe, and I've written about it in one of my past books, is OJW, on the job witness. God has called us to be OJWs. We're on the job witnesses, and we represent him to this. You said we're a failing nation. We're a failing world, and we represent him. What I want to know, the question is what do you look like? What Jesus are you showing them? What is your reflection to those in your space, those that you contract with? We have a lot of business owners, Georgia Christian Business Network, but we also have those that are walking in marketplace ministry. What does your engagement with others look like? Right. Okay. What are the opportunities where your reflection of who he is, especially where we spend 1/3 of our waking hours in the marketplace, 1/3 plus of our waking hours in the marketplace? What do we resemble? What piece of Jesus are you sharing that is not attracting others to want to know him? Because we are modeling for him. Is that not true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we do see a lot where people are turned off. And it's, on one hand, it's really sad, but at the same time, we are ambassadors, okay, for the King. And so we need to be making sure that we are living in line. And again, it's not about trying to be perfect and this goody and, oh yeah, just walk on me, and oh, I'll work overtime. It's just doing the things that we're supposed to do. And it actually isn't that hard. But so often we're trying to be like the rest of the people. We're hanging out at the, the water cooler and, laughing at bad jokes and, just doing whatever. So
not wanting to reveal the strength of who we are in Christ. And that's when you stand up for Jesus. You know what, Maggie? Let's do a stand up for Jesus campaign. Who's ready to stand up for Jesus? I'm not saying that so many people are bold in who they are and who they represent. What about Christians?
Yeah.
Where are our opportunities to be bold in who God's called us to be, to represent him well? Mm-hmm. To say, in you I live and move and have my being. To give others hope. The only way that we're going to experience change in the world, and this is what my first call this morning. I can't wait to share it with our business members. Colette Cosby, and I don't want to share too much prematurely, but she is the executive director for the local Y in Lawrenceville. And we're going to be doing some projects in partner and opportunities we're up leveling our GCBN benefits. And that's one of the opportunities that we have. But the perspective isn't what we're going to get for our members. I'm going to challenge our members. What can we give back to the Y? That's your benefit. It's a platform to serve, because what we've got to do is to be that salt and light. And the only way we're going to be that is we start to view it from God's perspective and not man's perspective. Man's perspective goes to work, milks the clock, this work from home opportunities. It saddens me because some of the opportunities, the phones are going and they're at the gym. I'm not saying that God doesn't build in liberties. I'm not saying that. And like Maggie said, we're no goody two shoes and all that. There are privileges. Yeah. Have on your pajamas if you want to with a nice top, I've done it before. I could actually stand up before the camera today. Okay. It might be something to do that I'm at my mother-in-law's. Okay. In the house with others. No, but seriously, what is so key, and we've got to have more teachers like us, not afraid to put it out there and to say, these are things that God is requiring of you. He's requiring more of me. He's requiring more of you. And you know why? Because these times are perilous. It's great opportunities that COVID has presented. COVID is not the victory. No, God is still sovereign. The opportunity is for us to roll up our sleeves and to go to work and look for mentors like Maggie that steers us in the direction that God would have us to go.
Right. You're right. And it's given an opportunity for people. And there's been a lot of businesses started. A lot of people have been very creative. And so we need to make sure that, again, we're keeping our eyes in the right place. The last pillar is rest. And again, we think of rest and sleep, but they're very, very different. And one of the things, I just finished Nehemiah just today. I've been 3 months into that book. But in the book, he was talking about the people, some of the things they were doing, and they got away from making that just that day that we give to the Lord. Now, it may be that you have to work on Sunday, but we need that Sabbath. We need that rest. We go, go, go. And Sundays have become the catch up for what we didn't get done on Saturday. And we've gotten away from, having that time as a family just to rest, to be together. And so all of these are pillars that are needed to keep the structure. And occasionally you'll watch one of these shows and the person is adamant, I want an open concept, so just take that wall out. And the contractor's like, you can't do that. That's a load-bearing wall. Those beams have to be there. And I believe that's the case with these things. When they're not, when we only have 5 or 6, but not the other 5 or 6, we're going to have places where it's going to sag. And we see that in structures. And I guess for me, I'm passionate about the idea of us leaving a legacy. That word has been my word for this year, legacy. I'm going to change the name of my business next year. And legacy is going to be in it because I believe, just like we're talking about building a structure, he's wanting us to do that personally, a strong structure. I was with my parents and my son last week. My dad is going to be 99 years old on New Year's Day. And there will be nothing written about him in history, but he has left a legacy for his 6 kids. And then we've taken those things. And it was funny to hear my son, who at times was a royal pain when he was a teenager, but we were instilling those things. And now to see him as a father of 4 kids, and he is instilling those things. And we need to get back to that structure that's founded on Christ. And that's sort of become my passion. Yes, I want you to be healthy, but in all areas, all areas.
So I love it. I love everything about what you said, from the father to your son to where we need to get back to. It is so much right there in just those couple of minutes of sharing that could be unpacked. Because, I'm here with my mother-in-law. She's 96. And I mean, I'm going to just show y'all something. You talk about legacy, and I love it. I'm going to try to show you. Can you see that beauty thing right there? Can you see that plant?
Oh, yes.
Can you see that? And she's had that thing
Christmas
for years.
cactus?
Okay. Christmas cactus, yes. And I have a small one that I sent them a picture of last week that is blooming. I would share it if I could. I don't know how to do it. I'll put it in, somehow get it. I'll get Lisa to help me. We'll get it in the Facebook live chat, mine compared to hers. But what I'm saying and what I see with your father is he reminds me of of my mother-in-law's Christmas cactus. And your son reminds me of mine. Okay. It's blooming. It hasn't made it to this point yet, but the foundation has been laid. We've got to lay foundations for them to follow, and they'll catch up. And although they may be a little slow, looks like they're getting deterred a little bit, our faith is in the foundation has been laid. Can y'all see that the foundation's been laid? This lady's got a green thumb out of this world. I mean, that there's a chapelera over there. I don't know if you can see it. That's about to get to the roof there. I don't know if you can see it. It's wonderful. What we want to do with this video, because this is some powerful information out there, is what I think Lisa's asking me is if you will share our video of today's session, then we're going to pick a winner from those that share this video. From Facebook Live, you've got to go out there, like our video, share it. We're going to pick 2 winners. and we'll follow back up. I promise you we're good for it. Okay. And we're going to share the book. But LaQuisha Williams, any reaction there? I don't know. LaQuisha Williams says to everyone, she's like raising her hand. So good, Maggie. I need the book. Okay, this is a great opportunity to let us give it to you. Okay. Amy says, I will stand up for Jesus. Yes, me too, Amy. And we are his earthly representatives, ambassadors. Yes. Truth. Love the pillars, solid foundation, Lori. Yeah. And she says, where's the video? What we want you to do is go on Facebook Live. If you have a Facebook account, please like our page, of course, Georgia Christian Business Network, and it's under LLC, although we do have a nonprofit God's People Ministry, which is a 501c3 that undergirds GCBN. Go out there and I can share the link to be able to go directly to it. Post it, Lisa, in chat for me. Send me a text with the link to where they can join the group, okay? And I'll post it over here on our side of the house, okay? What we want you to do is to share today's broadcast on your Facebook news feed or however that works, okay? And then when you do that, Lisa will go back in, find all the sharing opportunities. She'll put those names in her little wheel and she'll spin and she'll identify two winners. Then she'll instant message you to be able to get your contact information. And then she'll inbox you to ask you for your information, how we can get the book to you. How about that? Would that help? I think that'll work for definite. Okay. This is so, Maggie, this is so good. I am so thankful to have had this experience with you today for more reasons than one. I'm about to post here in our chat right there. That's how you can go directly to the group where this is held, where the video is sitting. And all you have to do is send it out. We'd appreciate your joining our Facebook Live group as well, our Facebook group, and liking us, as I said, on our page. But for you, Maggie, I want to tell you that I am excited about the work that God has called you to do. And you're just like Nehemiah. You're doing a great work. So I want to tell you, don't calm down. I don't know when you said, I can't recall exactly when you wrote the book, but it's a much needed resource. And that book is about to just blast off, because I want those that aren't two of the ones that are able to get the book from us for free. I want to encourage you to please invest in this. This will be a great gift based upon the topics of the pillars representing, for me, the 12 tribes of Israel, and I just think it's outstanding. I'm going to purchase one personally, but that'll leave two availability for yours. And Amy said she's already shared it, Lisa. So there you go. Okay. And LaQuisha says, I'm going to be sharing and purchasing. Go on, girl. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. But we would like to give away 2 copies. So if there's an opportunity that you are in a position that you can make the purchase, even if you're a winner, please gift one out to someone else. Okay. Awesome. Maggie, any finals? Because I need to do a little homework about what's next on GCBN platform.
Just, excuse me, one of the things, like I said, I just finished Nehemiah today. And one of the sad things is Nehemiah returned back to his homeland for 10 years, 10 to 12, and then made a trip back to Jerusalem. And the people had started going back to their old ways. And I thought, what a sad ending. And of course, it stops there, so we don't know. But it says he pulled out his hair, and then he even went and pulled out the hair of some of the people who were sinning. And again, all the more that we need to have that strong legacy that we're passing on, that we're leaving the fingerprint. I'll be gone in 40, 50 years. I'm hoping to live as long as my dad. But that fingerprint I want that to last. I'll be gone, but hopefully that will continue. And it's more than, yeah, I just need to lose a few pounds. I want to get into my jeans. Yes, that's fine. But the whole idea of the legacy is, what are we going to do with it? And there might be people out there that are single that say, but I don't have kids. There are people you need to be making an impact. And when you make that decision to change, people are going to be watching you, and it's going to be, what are you doing? I want some of that. So that's all. I could go on, but that's all.
Whoa. Letting your light so shine, Matthew 5:16, so that others would see your good work, and that God, your good works, but God would receive the glory from it. And that's where we've got to land. Because I was like, some situations I was observing, and I was like, God, and then I was trying to turn the perspective around, and I wasn't getting very outnumbered. And I was like, so I woke up this morning and God said, that's not what I asked you to do. You know what? Oh, no, man, nothing. But what, Maggie? But to what? To love them. Oh, no, man, nothing but to love them. And so when we're in a position and we're trying to make an impact and trying to show people the truth of what God's way is, sometimes it's just you sit back and love them. That's all. That's all. Not convince them, not to turn their minds around, not to show them another insight, just to love them. And I'm telling you, that too is freeing, all the way back to pillar one. Okay. It is freeing. It is totally freeing. I think it was two, forgiveness. I don't know, but it is so freeing. What I'd like to do is say thank you from the top of my heart, Maggie, for the nuggets, the wisdom that you poured out today on our show. In addition to that, I would like to thank our participants. We've had a full house on Zoom, and a lot of them, a few showed their faces initially, and that's wonderful. Lori saying, thank you, Maggie. This was wonderful. I think Lisa's done well over on the Facebook Live side of the house, so I'm so excited about that. I want to ask you all to please visit our website, www.gcbnetwork.com. Get an opportunity. Look at us on our social media platforms, like our pages, join our group. And if you're interested in joining a great organization that is doing great things for God's kingdom agenda, join GCBN. We're looking for members. We're looking for sponsors, opportunities, and don't be shy away because it says Georgia. Listen. Dr. Karen out of Dallas, Texas is a guardian sponsor of GCBN. Erica Jackson, CYE, out of Jacksonville, Florida, she's a guardian sponsor. And I have an announcement about her on Friday. I hope to put this out there on Friday about some things we're doing in 2022. But I'm waiting on one other component to finalize. And then it's related to Lisa's favorite, God, Golf, and Girls. So I'll talk about that on Friday at the Noon Nugget that I get an opportunity to participate in. On tomorrow on our virtual platform is our Wellness Wednesday show. So we would love to have you be a part of that back here on Zoom at noon with Rich Oswald and Pamela Bridgman Bartell. I mentioned them earlier, and myself tomorrow at noon. Also an opportunity, again, as I mentioned briefly, is the Small Business Friday Noon Nugget, where we're live in our Facebook group. I would love to have you all come out, and I'm going to drop some nuggets about how to finish well. Again, we're so thankful to have you here with us. Maggie, we will be in touch most definitely. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy your family and just an elevation 2022. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.